this back to reality episode of the Mazas Musings podcast. Eileen, Meghan, and I are back from our really nice, almost week-long trip to Walt Disney World, where, we had a little bit of trouble maybe getting out of the gate, literally, at the airport. But once we were airborne, everything was really smooth. We had some nice weather. We really had a great time, and we are going to tell you about it in this episode. Want to thank everybody who, while we were away, listened to the Disney Dudes episode, which you can also still find on your favorite podcatchers. If you haven't listened to that one, it's really a great and insightful episode, so certainly look to that one as well. We have some fun stuff coming up. I'm not ready to announce anything quite yet, but I do have some irons in the fire, and I think that it's going to be some pretty exciting stuff. Some of it Disney related, some of it not. So, while I'm still piecing those things together, you have a great conversation, which kicks off with me, Eileen, and Meghan. And then Meghan goes to bed, and Eileen and I fill in some of the gaps, though there's so much that we did on this trip. Truthfully, we weren't able to fit all of it into this episode. So, without any further ado, here is myself, Eileen, and Meghan talking Walt Disney World.
Donald, wake up! It's showtime! Don't forget the orchestra!
Ah, there you are. And just in time.
Mom says there's even more magical stuff now.
For those of you standing, please hold on to the handrails throughout our journey and stay clear of the doors.
Hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
And here we go!
Alrighty, well, I am here with Meghan and Eileen, and we are here.
And Mickey.
And Mickey, yes, we have a giant Mickey here with us as well. And we are here to talk about our recent trip to Walt Disney World. But before we get to that, of course, there was one thing that was a big part of our trip, and that was, of course, the Hey Disney, Tell Me a Joke, which we heard over and over and over again. And
anytime we were in the room.
Yes. And of course, Meghan loves her jokes, which is why we have made jokes part of this podcast. So, Meghan, do you have a joke for this week?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Why did Goofy put a clock under his desk?
I don't know. Why did Goofy put a clock under his desk?
Because he wanted to work overtime.
Oh, all right.
That's a good one.
That's one of the better ones.
And who said that on the Hey Disney?
Mickey!
Mickey, yes.
And then Goofy added to the end, that's right, I did.
See, we heard him a few times.
So, yes, for those who are not aware, Hey Disney is kind of like
a joke, and you can do different things with it.
Yes. It's kind of like an Alexa or a Siri that they have in all of the rooms at Disney resorts. So it's
not
also
all
helpful.
Disney resorts.
Pretty sure it's all Disney resorts. Yeah.
We never got Hey Disney at Wilderness Lodge before.
So maybe it was not in existence then.
Maybe not.
It's possible.
It was on the cruise. I think that's when we got it.
Anyway,
Either way, in addition to telling jokes, which was Meghan's thing to do with it, it can give you information on when parks open and other things like that. What else did we do with that?
We ordered room items.
That's right. We ordered room items.
It actually was quite funny. I was trying to get like coffee for Chris because
and toilet paper.
Yes, coffee and toilet paper because we were out or running low. And I'm like pushing a bunch of buttons on the thing, trying to figure it out. And Megan's like, all you have to do is say order room items. Because she had watched it cycle through what you can do. But anyway, I think that's enough about Hey Disney.
Okay, that's enough about Hey
Yes,
Disney.
it is.
Just wanted to give people a little bit of a perspective as to what we were talking about, a little bit of context. So we spent the better part of a week at Walt Disney World, and we stayed at 2 different resorts. Yes?
Yes!
All right, what were they?
Where did we go first?
Animal Kingdom Lodge, then Wilderness Lodge.
That's right. We spent one night at Animal Kingdom Lodge, the Kidani Village. And then after that, we went to Copper Creek at Wilderness Lodge, which is our home resort for DVC. And we had a great time. It was a great
It
trip.
was so fun.
Yeah. You have a good time? She's nodding.
Mostly.
Mostly?
Well, we'll get to that part
we're-
later.
Okay.
We are going to ask Megan at each park what her favorite thing and her least favorite thing were. But before we get to that, there were lots of different ways that we got around Disney on this trip. Now, we did not get to do the Skyliner this time. We were at 2 different parks where we were hoping that we might be able to take a break and do a Skyliner ride, but it just didn't.
We just ran out of time.
Yeah, there was so much going on.
Okay, I wanted to do it so badly.
Yeah, I know. All right, so outside of the Skyliner, which we didn't do, what was your favorite way to get around Disney?
Monorail.
What was that?
Monorail.
Monorail. Okay, and
It is newer to me. Is newer.
is newer.
I think she had only been on it one other time before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's newer, like, because the last time I was like a baby.
I think she was 2. I think,
Yeah, might have been 2
because we went to see the trees at the resort.
at the different resorts.
Well, at least at the Grand Floridian was pretty much what we did. But yes, I think she was 2 when we did that. So yeah, it was fairly new to her.
And why did you like the monorail so much? Was it just because it was something new?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, yeah. My favorite is always the boat from Wilderness Lodge to Magic Kingdom.
That just reminded me.
What's that?
I made a new friend on the boat.
That's right. You did make a new friend on the boat.
I
So-
forget her name, though.
Yeah, well,
Because I couldn't really understand her name.
yeah, she was from Texas and did have a Texas accent for sure.
Yep.
But they had a lot of chatting. We sat out in the front of the cold boat, both of our families, and we were going to breakfast that day, and they were going to Magic Kingdom. Yeah.
Yep.
Wait, I just I remember that we sat on the same bench.
That's
Yes,
right.
you girls did sit on the same bench.
Yep. It's funny how Megan, especially it seems to be on boats, finds friends. Because you made a friend on the cruise too when we went on the cruise, right?
Oh yeah, Mia.
So yeah, so but yeah, Megan seems to be able to make friends wherever she can go. So first place that we went, the first park we went to, I guess we should say, was Animal Kingdom,
Which was amazing we were at the lodge, at Animal Kingdom Lodge. And so we just hopped on a bus and we were there in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah,
It was,
that was
so
pretty cool.
great. Sorry.
So I know Megan's kind of getting nervous because there's something that was maybe her least favorite thing, but I want to hear about her favorite thing first. All right. So what was your favorite thing at Animal Kingdom?
The safari.
What was there a favorite animal or a favorite thing at the safari that you liked the best?
Yes.
What was that?
The cheetah there.
That's right.
There were 2 cheetahs there that we saw, right?
I thought I
At
saw
least
two.
2.
3?
Yeah.
There could have been 3.
Yeah. The nice thing was it was a little bit cooler, so a lot of the animals that normally would be hiding weren't hiding.
The cheetahs were still sleeping, but they were visible.
Well, they're cats. Cats are always sleeping.
Well,
anyway.
that's what I'm saying.
I saw one that was awake. and
That's
looking
true. It was
around.
looking
It
around.
was looking
yeah.
around.
Yep.
You're right.
And you could see the black under its eyes. He was talking about that. Yeah.
But in general, they weren't running the way that cheetahs can run, but we actually saw them as opposed to them just behind a tree where we couldn't see them.
Right. Yeah.
So that was cool.
Unless you saw like some spots.
Yeah.
And
Right.
their tail was peeking out.
Okay, so what was your least favorite thing at Animal Kingdom?
Mount Everest.
We can't
We
hear
can't hear
you.
you.
Mount Everest.
Mount Everest.
What is Mount Everest?
A roller coaster. A roller coaster.
And why did you not like Mount Everest?
You had to go backwards.
It did go backwards. And what else did we see?
Yeti.
A Yeti.
A Yeti.
Yeah. We talked about it. We had decided we were going to do Everest in advance. It was the first ride of the day, so we got that over and done with.
Yep.
But
She did admit to having some jelly legs afterwards.
and I thought it was funny because it starts off like you're kind of going slow, and she did her normal like
No.
Anyway,
It's not quite that high pitched. I could hear it this time. It's not quite as monotone as Mommy makes it out to be, but it's not quite as high pitched as you do.
but then when we hit backwards, that's when she really she was kind of okay until we started going backwards, and that's when she really
Because like the big drop when the bigger drop when we're going backwards, it scares me.
It's true. You don't see it coming. So.
Yes. And then when you're going forward, or then when you flip and you go down that big drop, that was a little scary.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Because you don't see it because you're backwards at first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I definitely had my arm clung around her, and we were keeping each other safe.
Yep. But it was one of those things that we said we're going to try it. And if you don't want to do it again, well, we don't have to. Of course, Megan may have a very different perspective on rides the next time she goes, which will be in a couple of years. So
2.
Yeah. So next we went on to
Magic Kingdom. So we're starting with favorite.
favorite.
What was your favorite thing at Magic Kingdom? There was a lot that
We did a lot of, and we did some new stuff too.
It's hard.
It's hard to pick.
Okay, so what's one thing you liked at Magic Kingdom?
The parade.
The parade.
Yes.
Yes, we did have a good spot for the parade too. We were in Frontierland because we were going to Tiana's right after, but we were able to get a corner, so we were kind of had some good
about a corner.
We had some good space to see the parade.
Yep.
And Megan definitely enjoyed the parade.
One of the things that I thought was cool about the parade was a bunch of people saw Megan's birthday button, and so they were
A bunch of the
wishing her
people
happy
in the
birthday.
parade,
Yeah, in
yeah.
the parade. Yep, and we're wishing her happy birthday. So that was pretty cool. And let's see. So then, obviously, we had the off day.
Well,
after
are we
that.
going to see what?
Oh, that's
that
right.
she
We forgot.
didn't
We
like at
forgot about
Magic
what she
Kingdom?
didn't like. I'm skipping ahead. So, what was something that you didn't like, or was not your favorite?
Tiana's.
And I don't believe that for a second, but I'll let her explain.
Why didn't you like Tiana's? What about it didn't you like?
I liked it mostly, but the little drops, but also the big drop.
So you didn't like the big drop, but you liked the little drops?
I kind of liked the little drops, but they weren't my favorite either.
Yeah, and I would have to differ. I mean, I understand that her focus is on that big drop that is a little bit scary, but I sat with her on that ride, and she was so engaged. She was pointing out all the musicians. She did like the little drops, definitely.
Just a little.
So I understand that she's focused on that one aspect of the ride, but I think that she really liked it.
All right, so now then we had the day off, and I think the one thing that I think we all can agree on that we really liked was that we were able to get some Gideon's cookies.
Yes!
Okay, so we'll just leave that at that, and we'll skip to our next park day, which was
Hollywood
Studios.
And Megan definitely tried a couple new things at Hollywood Studios, too.
Yes.
She She's now done all the Star Wars rides at Hollywood Studios.
Yep.
She had done Star Tours before, but this time she did Smuggler's Run, where she got to drive the Millennium Falcon, and she did Rise of the Resistance, which, again, I know she was a little scared on that, but I'm proud of her for doing it.
So, what was your favorite thing at Hollywood Studios? We met a lot of new characters too over
We did.
there. Some of this we'll get into when
Yeah.
you and I are talking. But right now, we're interested in what Meghan has to say. Hollywood Studios, what is your favorite thing?
It's hard.
It's
Well,
hard.
think
This
about it.
one
That's-
shouldn't be hard because there was one thing that you were talking about that you wanted to go on basically the whole time that we were planning this trip. There's one ride that you really love that
Slink Dog. And I like the alien.
The
That's
aliens
right.
too.
The alien swirling saucers are another one of her favorites. We actually rode those twice.
Yeah.
So,
And she really liked Toy Story Mania this time. I
Yeah.
think it would be safe to say like all of Toy Story Land Megan really liked.
yeah. And how about what was not your favorite?
Um,
I know there are a few things to choose from there too.
all the Star Wars.
Well,
All the Star Wars?
Except meeting Baby Yoda.
Oh, that's right.
Mostly all the Star Wars except Baby Yoda.
Well, you seemed pretty okay when you were driving the Millennium Falcon. That
No,
one,
I was like,
I think that she was concerned, because she was crashing into things sometimes. But I think
I
overall,
was like, it looks like I was smiling, except this side was like,
she just made a face here for us in case you were wondering what just happened.
all right. So I guess that's fair enough. So then we had our last stop, which was Epcot. And what was your favorite part of Epcot?
It could.
going through the Moana thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
that is very cool. It was even cool with it not being, super warm that day. We still had a good time going through that.
yeah. We couldn't get as wet as Megan might have wanted to get.
I played music there.
That's right. Yeah, there's the musical part of the water, and there's a bunch of different things that the water does. But yep. And how about what was your something that was not your favorite?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay, you liked everything.
Mostly.
That's always good too.
Mostly.
Mostly, excellent.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think there was anything new that we did with her at Epcot,
No,
and
You only forced me on a big ride. Everest. That's the only thing you forced me on.
and to use the word forced is just a little strong.
I mean, we told her she was going on it,
And I did not want to go
and we
on
told her
it.
that if she went on it, we could send a picture of her to everyone to show that she went on it.
And people were very impressed.
And I did not want to do that.
But anyway, do you have anything else you want to say, Megan, before you go to bed? Oh, I have one more question.
Okay.
Where was your favorite place that we ate?
Oh yeah, that's a great question.
We ate at a lot of restaurants. We'll probably talk more about them later. But what was your favorite place to eat?
All the buffet spots.
But is there one specific?
No.
Because
Like all the buffets and space.
All the
Okay.
buffets and space. So
that's
I
everything.
that's basically everywhere we ate.
Everything. I did not have
I think that she pretty that
specific one.
she did great eating wherever we went.
Yeah,
So
I agree. She seemed to like everything.
so I guess that's fair enough. But there wasn't one that you thought was better than the others.
Nope.
No? Okay. All right. Well, Megan, thank you very much for joining us for the podcast. And certainly Eileen and I will be talking a bit more in depth about our trip and some of the things we have done. This isn't a full trip report, quote unquote, but we do have quite a few things to get through because this was one of our longest trips that we've had.
And we did some new things.
And we did new things. So, yes. Well, thank you, Megan. Enjoy your chocolate. Megan gets a little piece of chocolate for being a good participant. So, thank you very much. And good night, Megan. Do you want to say good night?
Thank you for listening and good night.
That's her sign off.
All right. So now that Megan has been put to bed, Eileen and I are now going to have our chance to talk a little bit more in depth about the trip. Like we said before, we're not doing a full trip report, but there are a lot of things to get through. It was one of our longer trips in some time.
Excuse me. Yeah, no, it absolutely was great. We were there 6 nights. We haven't done a trip that long in a long time.
Yeah. Just for some perspective, we've had to sacrifice parks during certain trips, and usually it's been Animal Kingdom.
Yeah, so this was our first time back probably since 2022.
To Animal Kingdom, yeah.
Unless we didn't even go in 2022.
I'm trying to remember. Megan might have been 3 the last time we were there. We don't need to go through all of the different...
She did not go when she was 3 because she went at 2 and then just after at 4.
At 4, okay. Anyway, so obviously the one of the most interesting parts of the trip was even before the trip, which was trying to get down to Florida from Massachusetts, which for those who are not in the area, we had some weather. It started out as snow and then turned into ice overnight. And well, our original flight, which was supposed to be at 6 a.m. on Sunday, ended up getting canceled at about 3 p.m. on Saturday. So yeah, it was something. So luckily Eileen found a comparable flight at a comparable time that actually ended up saving us money.
Yeah. And they didn't cancel on us, and they ended up for the most part going off on time too. So.
Yeah, on time as in we pushed back from the gate.
We had to double de-ice.
Well,
but
the funniest part of the whole thing to me was we pushed back about 6 feet, and then the pushback vehicle got stuck. So we ended up getting the whole thing ended up taking about an hour to actually get us in the air, which, considering that flights were canceling, really wasn't that bad.
Flights were canceled. Flights were wicked delayed. I mean, we were still at our resort by noon.
Yeah.
Before noon.
Yep. So, and I think that's one of the big things is we always try to fly early. Sure, it's much like a Run Disney race. We're waking up at 2:30 in the morning to get down to the airport. But I find it worth. I'd much rather be down there and be able to relax a little bit if we need to take a nap or take it easy for a while once we're down there, as opposed to worrying about all these kinds of complications.
Yeah, and I mean with this trip our room wasn't ready until truly like 3:00, like your typical room ready time. Sometimes we get lucky and it's ready earlier.
Right.
But our room was not ready until mid-afternoon. So the nap option was pretty much gone at that point in time. But we got there, we had lunch.
We got our Caesar salads.
Okay. Anyway, yeah.
No, that's an important thing. That's something we've talked about in a previous podcast. Even is these Caesar salads. We got the Caesar salads at the Kidani pool. That's an important tidbit from that part of our trip.
And I even texted them to my sister, who was wicked, like more obsessed with them, and my sister, who was in Miami waiting to board a cruise, and her response was, "Oh man, I'm so jealous." So,
all right. Anyway, but that to me is a big moment.
So we got our lunch. We did a bunch of swimming. We watched the animals, and then we were able to get into our room right around when it was starting to get chilly out. We did get some rain that evening because it rained when we were at dinner.
Right.
So it was very windy that day, but as the afternoon went on, it's like, okay, we're getting chilly. We got to get out of the pool. And so we did. And then our room was ready and it was perfect timing for that.
Yep.
And we went to
Boma.
Boma that night, which was our first time there. It was also our first time going over to Jumbo.
Mm-hmm.
So we did walk around a little bit out there, saw their savannah. It was a little drizzly while we were doing that. At one point, it actually rained.
Started raining, yeah.
But it was cool to see that and explore that a little bit. And then we went to dinner.
Which was the first of many buffets that we did on this trip, which isn't usual for us. We might do one, but we did a lot of buffets on this trip. We did a lot of overeating on this trip.
Lot of overeating. But, it's vacation, and now we just have to go back to eating normally.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I really liked Boma. I thought that the food was very good. There was a nice mix of, like, I don't want to say normal food, but, like, your more typical buffet food, but also, like, some more authentic, like, African-style food.
Well, and didn't the guy who seated us, he described it as African-American fusion, So, yeah, I thought that's a pretty accurate way to describe it.
And Meghan really enjoyed, like, everything. She found more than just the mac and cheese to eat. Mm-hmm. So, like, she was eating some of those ribs.
Yeah.
Did that place have I forget. She might have had some sirloin.
Yeah, I think that place did have some
sort
sirloin
of a beef option.
Yeah. Yep.
And that, especially as she gets older, it's like if I'm paying these Disney prices for you to eat,
you're not just eating mac.
I want you to eat more than just mac and cheese. What she really liked, the pita chips.
Yeah,
not the chips, the pita
bread. Yeah.
Yes,
yep.
She asked to go back for seconds of pita bread, which was one of the things that I'm like, I want you to try this. Like, there were a couple things that I'm like, as we made her plate, try this, and that's like your new thing to try. And she really liked that.
Yeah, and then the next day, of course, we had kind of planned this in that we were staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge, so we were just going to jump over to...
Before we go to the next day,
sure.
Meghan went to bed, and so Chris and I sat out on the balcony. We had the Savannah view, and it was a little dark over where we were, but for a while there were some zebras out there, and then like a giraffe, like not right in front of our room, but like a giraffe was just like hanging out there.
Yeah.
I mean, he seemed to be eating, but I can't imagine that he ate for like 45 minutes.
Well, I mean, you figure they've got to eat a lot. They're big animals, but
yeah, but I mean, maybe there's 45 minutes worth of food. Maybe he was just eating it nice and slowly.
And it's funny, we were talking about that and watching them, especially when the caretakers were out there.
They followed them.
I commented it's a lot like having a really big dog. Like you mentioned how like unlike a lot of the other animals, they seem to be really, really food motivated. So it really was. They were like following the truck around.
Well, and then I forget, but on safari, I do remember like our guide mentioned like how many hours a day they eat or something like that, and it's an insane amount. Like they pretty much eat all day long.
The time. I mean, you figure you're that big and you're eating salads all the time.
Yeah.
You got to eat a lot. So,
but so that was a nice way to like relax.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's one thing, we always try to have a space where we can go outside and let Meghan kind of, settle and fall asleep before we're in the room for the night. So Animal Kingdom, the few times that we've stayed there, we've been able to take advantage of that and watch the animals, which is really cool. So
yeah, it's always nice when you can look at something other than like, I mean, if we were on the other side, it would have been a parking lot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep. And then we probably would have people watched. We do that too.
Yes.
So we made the jump over we only stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge for one night, and we added that night later because of the way flights fell. So we added a night
and because remember after we came back from our trip, I was just like, I want to go down there for an extra, maybe it wasn't our trip, but it was like, I want to have a day where we can like do what we want, like not at the parks. So kind of giving ourselves that, like, let's take some time to do some different things.
In any event, so we got our stuff brought down so that it could get transferred to Wilderness Lodge, where we were spending the rest of our stay, and we got on a bus and took this very short trip to Animal Kingdom. And that was, again, it was, as we said, that was a park that Megan had not been to in some time. It was a park that we hadn't been to in some time.
Yeah, we were there in 2022, so 4 years ago, 3 years ago, but a lot has changed, especially with Megan's life in 3 years.
Yep.
So, yes.
And of course, there's less. There are a few less things to do there. The Dino Land USA, Dinorama area, and everything was already kind of shutting down. You know, they had the construction walls up and for part of that area, but it was also cooler, so I don't know how inclined we would have been to do it, but the Cali River Rapids were doing their annual, refurbishment.
Animal Kingdom Day was hot.
That's true. That was one of the hotter
Monday and
days.
Tuesday,
That's true.
Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom were pretty hot. They were cool in the morning, but they got hot as the day went on. It was, once we hit like Thursday, Friday, it was much cooler.
Of course, when we say hot, we're talking like maybe a touch low 80s as opposed to some other times when it's much, much warmer.
Yeah, and by low 80s, probably about 75. But one of the days it might have hit.
Yeah.
But either way, yeah, it was very comfortable the entire trip. It was great.
Yeah, we were very fortunate. It was, in terms of moving around the parks and everything, it was great for that in terms of the weather. When it comes to some of the rides and the attractions where you might get wet, it wasn't necessarily conducive to that. But yeah.
So we did Lightning Lane in advance for that, and we booked our Lightning Lanes 7 days out.
Yep.
And so for that, we got a Lightning Lane for Everest. We got one for the Safari, and we got one for Navi River.
Yeah.
And we were originally not going to get a Lightning Lane for there or for Epcot. And then we realized... The multi-pass, I'm sorry. And then we realized that it was President's Day on that Monday that we'd be at Animal Kingdom. So it was going to be crazy. And I'm very glad that we did get that multi-pass.
It was a full park. There were only a couple of times where I really felt like it was super congested. And one of those times was when the Lion King show was getting out. So there was a reason why it was that packed in that area.
But again, I think we made the smart play by doing it. Otherwise, we would not have been able to do as much as we did that day. So we got those three. So that was kind of spread throughout the day. Everest was a very early one.
Yeah, we did that early and it worked out. We were able to bang it out early. We told Megan this was something that she was going to do. And then as soon as we got it done, she wouldn't have to worry about it for the rest of the trip.
And shortly after that, we went to brunch at Tusker House.
Right.
So it was like, you do this, you get to go see Mickey Mouse.
Yep. And she was great. I mean, it's a scary ride. At least you let her know in advance that it goes backwards, unlike somebody else that you know.
I'm not going to lie, though. Like, I did not sleep overly great the night before that, and part of it was in the middle of the night. I'm like, oh, no, is she too young to do this? Am I being a mean mom by taking her on this? Like, I was having some stress. I'm like, it's definitely bigger than I, remember it being, but then, I'm glad she did it.
There were some other kids who were around her age who were going off on the trains before we were, so I don't think that necessarily allayed any of her fears, but I think it
made me feel like I'm not being this awful mother who's forcing you on a roller coaster.
I mean, you were that awful mother forcing her on a roller coaster, but it wasn't something that was a irresponsible decision.
And I forgot to mention it when we were talking with Megan earlier, but I told you, she was kind of doing her little semi-monotone yelling at the beginning. But then as we got through the ride, she just was yelling, "This is terrifying. This is terrifying." On repeat as we're going through the ride. It was so funny. But and it was, little girl, I totally get that.
Yeah.
The picture of her in that seat, she looks very little. But she did it. And,
Yep.
And
yeah, and then she got to go see Mickey and his friends at the Tusker House brunch, which is something we've done in the past, and it's great. The characters come around to your table.
This was the first time that we've done it with the buffet, though.
That's true.
For breakfast.
Right, because the last time we did it for breakfast, it was
like family style due to COVID.
Right. Yeah. But either way, and this was nice because the characters were actually coming to your table. It wasn't one of those things where there were distanced photos. So it was a great experience. You missed Mickey the first time around, but we're
not going to go into that.
But they got Mickey back for you. Like, that's the great thing is whenever you're doing these kinds of things, they're really great about making sure that if you miss a character, the character will come back to you.
She was so annoyed that I asked Mickey to come back.
But she did it.
She did it, yes.
Yeah. I won't say that our server was the most personable, but she did what we asked her to do, and that's fine. And that's what it is. About it. Yeah. So I think that day, the one thing, we were hoping that we would be able to catch a glimpse of the baby tiger.
Oh yeah.
And it was a 90-minute wait that morning by the time that we had gotten through everything. They said, he's staying out later now, so maybe in the afternoon, you'll be able, but we just weren't able to fit that into.
We didn't have time to go back in the afternoon.
But you did. They were still letting you go through that ruins, and you could see like the daddy tiger. But
you weren't allowed to stop.
You could not stop. They were making sure. Like, there were a couple times where I paused and kind of like, and they were reminding me that I had to keep moving. But you were lucky enough to catch a quick glimpse.
He was like jumping up onto the wall as I was looking, because I was looking out the glass window, and he jumped up onto the wall.
Yeah. So it was, they had it divided. So if you were to the right, you were waiting in line to see the tiger cub. And if you were to the left, you were walking through the ruins.
And we got to go do all the rest of the stuff in the thing too, whereas a lot of them bypassed that and just waited to see the tiger cub.
From what I understand now, a week later, they've put it back to normal because now the tiger
can be out more.
Right. Yeah. So, it would have been great to see, but at the same time, it was like, I don't really want to stand in line for...
Yeah, and we had hoped to go back later in the day, but we just ran out of time. There were other things that we wanted to do, and we weren't really back in that area. So the other thing that we did, we were able to make a secondary lightning lane, not lightning lane. Yeah, multi-pass lightning lane, right? As opposed
to lightning lane multi-pass.
Okay. So when I say we were able to make a lightning lane, that makes. So Meghan asked to go on Dinosaur. We weren't going to make her do it, but she was like, I want to go on it. Now, I knew she'd hate it. I think you probably knew she'd hate it.
Spoiler, she did hate it.
Yeah, but again, she's the one who asked for it. And since it's going to be gone and we won't be able to do it again, we were just like, okay, we'll do it. We made a lightning lane for it. And yes, it was not her favorite, but shortly after that, we got to do the dino dig area or whatever it's called, the play yard.
Yeah. And that's one thing, we've both talked about. We hope that whatever they do with the area, with the tropical Americas and everything like that, we hope that they maintain something where kids can just kind of play. I think that's something that there should be some element of that at every park. Just with all the go, just even giving the kids just a little bit of an opportunity to just be kids and blow off some steam. And it also gives the parents kind of a chance to relax. Of course, a chance to relax if you're not getting the fake sand thrown on you like I was from, but
anyway, we'll move on.
There were a couple of siblings that were having an issue, and I ended up in the crossfire.
So yeah, we spent most of the day there. We went back to the resort and we did like quick service back at Wilderness Lodge. But when we got to Wilderness Lodge, our room was ready there at 10 in the morning. It was they're like, your room is ready. I'm like, well, we're at the park.
So I'm going to back up just for a second because we talked about it a little bit, but I really enjoyed this safari.
Oh,
I thought that it was really, because of the cooler weather, more of the animals were, I mean, a lot of times they're out, but they were much more visible, a lot more
yes, they weren't
active.
hiding in the shade
Yeah.
behind stuff. They were.
We actually saw a couple, and we've seen the lions before. There was that one time where the lion picked its head up because it heard something that we couldn't even hear, but a truck had blown a tire. But to actually see them kind of out more, like it was just laying out there on the rocks as opposed to kind of hiding, where they're just like, oh yeah, you can kind of see a paw over there. Like this was full blown, adult male lion laying out there, in the sun. So, so that was terrific. And I love the Lion King show. I think that Megan really enjoyed that too.
Yes.
I mean that show, especially now the tumbling monkeys are back, and that's one of the really impressive things of that show. So we still haven't seen the Nemo show.
No,
we had every intention to, but it just didn't work out.
I really feel like this trip we just kept running out of time, and some of it
which is amazing because it's like our longest trip. But of course, we didn't do any park hopper, and we didn't take that. We could have taken that day that we had set as like an off day, and we could have gone to another park if we wanted to.
Yeah, but we wanted it, and
right.
I think Megan needed that off day.
No, yeah.
Especially this was she was without stroller for the entire trip for the first time ever. Last year when we went, we only did one day at the park, so she didn't use a stroller that day. But 4 days at the parks.
And we got to the park at noon that day. Yeah. So, we got back to the resort. We did dinner. Was that the night I got the bison burger? I think it was.
No, burgers were later in the week.
Okay. And anyway, I'd recommend.
We did 2 dinners there.
I'd recommend the bison burger.
You did pulled pork the first night.
That's right. Yeah, which was okay. But the bison burger is really, really good.
That's
at the Roaring Fork. No, excuse me. That's at Geyser Point.
Geyser Point, I like their food better, but Roaring Fork has more for the kids.
Yeah.
So
Roaring Fork had the pulled pork, and that was pretty good. But somebody was saying one of the staff members at Geyser Point was telling somebody who was looking at the menu that has been voted like the best burger on Disney property, like so many years in a row. But yeah, so anyway, that's a little off track. We settled in that night, got Megan to bed after a few "Hey Disney, tell me a joke," and then. The nice thing was, we could still hear the...
Well, we kind of had a different room than we're used to.
Oh, yeah. Let's go into the room a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, so we were in a studio.
Yeah. Now, normally we get the studio and we'll usually request something. Now, we're in Copper Creek specifically, which is one of the wings of Wilderness Lodge, which is the DVC portion. And we usually request to have a room in a certain area on the first floor because it's got like the little patio area that you can walk right out to the path, and then one of us can go get a drink while the other one's staying at the room.
Just a little more convenient.
Right. And we just kind of, because at night we'll hunker down outside while Megan sleeps or settles in. This time we found out that we were going to be on the second floor, which is actually the lobby floor, because it's kind of on a hill. And it was still a studio. And so I was disappointed. But this ended up working out pretty well for us. It was a corner room, and the way that the room was kind of set up, it was almost like a 1 bedroom.
Yes. Sorry. I blanked.
As opposed to the standard studio.
Yeah, we had there wasn't a door or anything like that, but we had a separate space, and it was great too. Just not have I just I sleep in the same room with Megan when we have to, but it just offers a little bit more time to
and to kind of give people more of an idea. basically the kitchenette area and the living room area that had the pull-out sofa. Wilderness Lodge is one of the resorts that still has the pull-out sofas as opposed to the Murphy beds. That was kind of in one spot, and you kind of turned a corner to get to the bedroom. So there was, like Eileen said, there wasn't a door, but it did provide a little bit of separation between the two rooms. The outdoor area for that was tiny because of the way the building, was shaped and everything like that, but it sufficed for two people sitting out there for a little while. And so that was, it was nice to have the extra space, especially because we were there for a longer period of time.
Yeah, no, it was very nice. So yes, anyway, then we went to bed and we woke up the next morning and we rope dropped Magic Kingdom. And we were on it. Like, we were at the park. We were in one of the earlier, not like front of the holding.
We were not at the rope, but
we were like, we could see them drop the rope, and
Yep.
we were close enough that it wouldn't have been a problem. And of course, we went to Fantasyland, so everyone there is running for Mine Train, which we were also running for.
They tell you not to run, but people were running anyway.
We weren't running.
No, we weren't.
But yeah, we went to
Mine Train, and we were told that it wasn't working.
Yeah, so we decided to hang out and wait. We had done lightning lanes for 3 other things, and our plan was to rope drop Mine Train. We didn't want to pay for the individual lightning lane.
Right.
So we figured we'd rope drop that, and then we'd do our other. We had like a 8:30 or a 9 o'clock, not fast. Dumbo.
Yeah.
So we had some early ones to go on.
Yeah. So
anyway,
while we were waiting, they said, "Hey, it's going to be, we don't know how long it's going to be. This is down." I think you noticed that Winnie the Pooh was also down, so it was a bigger issue than just that one ride.
And so we waited for a little bit, and then it's like, we haven't moved. I'll wait it out a little bit. You guys went on the teacups.
Yeah. Megan loves the teacups, by the way. She loves the teacups, and I love the teacups too.
I'll go on them, but yes. So I sent them off. I'm like, I'll hold the spot. There was no line at the teacups.
We spun those teacups. Like there, it actually got to the point where she was. I told her, okay, if you want me to go faster, just yell faster, daddy. And if you want me to go slower, yell slower, daddy. So it was like one of those faster, daddy. And I was like, slower, daddy. So I got that thing cranking pretty good. Anyway, sorry.
And a family behind us was talking to, I know you're not supposed to jump in and out of line like that, but given that our line wasn't moving, the family behind us, which seemed like it was 2 families on a trip together, they're like, do you want to just take the kids over to the teacups? And I turned around and said, my husband just did the same thing. I'm like, no judgment if you guys go do that. And so then we ended up talking while they were off doing teacups too, and kind of went over the, like, do we wait it out? Do we try and go do some other rides while it's here and wait in line later? And so I don't know what they ended up doing, but we ended up saying, okay, let's go do Little Mermaid. If we can bang out like
some of the smaller
rides, and then we wait for Mine Train later in the day, we do that. So we went off to Voyage of Little Mermaid, and we were heading back. We were heading to the Speedway because there was no wait for the Speedway then, and we saw Mine Train was open. So we hopped in line. We probably only waited
45 minutes,
if that even. Like, the line was moving.
Yeah, they told me 45 minutes. It might have been 40 minutes.
Yeah, because it had started prior to like when lightning lanes would have kicked in and stuff. So we got on. We made, and it worked out great. Made friends with another family. Oh, the guy who was he was in front of us. I was talking to him. They were from Brazil. But he was in front of us. We were talking, da-da-da-da-da. You were in the bathroom, I think. But he was talking about how cold it was. And this was one of the warmer days. I mean, yes, it was probably 50 at this point.
Yeah. And of course, it's summertime in Brazil right now.
Yeah, like
so
he said they had to order their kids like winter clothes to come to Florida. And so I'm just chuckling as I'm in like, I did have a sweatshirt, but in shorts and everything like that. And then he lost his family. They weren't there. So they disappeared, but somehow they ended up right on the ride in front of us. Yeah. Like I found them in the ride photo.
Either way.
Just, I like those little things where I'm like, oh, and the screaming little girl.
Yeah. So there was this mom who had two little girls with her. One really wanted to go on the ride. One was very adamant that she didn't want to go on the ride. And they were waiting for Dad to get there. Like Mom was on the phone constantly, like, with Dad, where are you? We're here in the line. The one mistake, things were okay until the mom had said, she made mention of, well, I don't know what's going to happen if your dad doesn't get here. And that's what really set off the girl who didn't want to do it. And it's one of those things where I'm always like, don't put an idea in a kid's head if it doesn't have to be there. So, that was, we heard, I mean, at times it sounded like, the little girl from The Exorcist was behind us.
But then they were on the row in front of us in Tiana's.
Right. And she was totally fine with that.
She also didn't like the drop. But again, but it was just one of those funny things how,
she was with Dad on Tiana's though. Yeah. So there could be
just one of those, like, I enjoy those, like, when you're like, oh, I saw you earlier. I'm seeing you again.
And it is funny because people are just like, oh yeah, you're probably never going to see these people again. It's just like, well, you might. I mean, especially when you have kids of similar ages.
You take notice to them and you are doing the same ride.
Well, and the odds of you being on the same attractions are greater because, that's what it is.
But that's pretty much, I mean, Magic Kingdom, we saw the parade. We watched the noontime parade. It was amazing.
Yep. We saw the show in front of the castle.
Yeah.
Megan really enjoyed that. Yep.
And then we did Tiana's. And that was great. We got the Lightning Lane multi-pass for that.
Yeah.
So we were able, especially because that was like not on our first day. So we were able to book that and it was great. And we got like a noontime time, so it was very reasonable. And for that, the queue was fast. We had a really great time. Megan really was so fun on that ride.
Yeah, when she understood the story that we were trying to find the musicians for the band for the party, I mean, I was, of course, now I never got to ride anything except for the teacups when Mommy wasn't there. I never got to ride anything with Megan. There were actually, as we were posting pictures, on social media and stuff, people started commenting about like, oh, poor Daddy. He never gets to, he's always alone. And
we gave her the choice.
Yep, and she chose Mommy every time. So.
Even on the Speedway, Chris was driving a race car on the Speedway.
And people who have listened to the podcast know what I think about the Speedway in the first place.
I thought you were going to take that as a bathroom or coffee break. I'm not going to lie.
I was trying to play along, and so yes, I ended up, driving a car by myself on the Speedway. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, that was a day that the one thing other thing that struck me that day was the Astro Orbiter's gone. Like, yeah, it's closed for refurbishment, but I mean, they're refurbishing it. But it's not there.
Yeah, yeah. And where were we when I noticed it?
Was it the People Mover?
No, maybe on Dumbo.
Maybe Dumbo.
There was somewhere.
Maybe the Speedway.
Yeah, I just remember looking at the landscape and being like, "What goes there?"
Off. Yeah. Yep, and I think we were in line for the People Mover, and I pointed it out that it was.
And I was like, "Oh, that's what that is." Yeah. So anyway, that was a great day. I mean, I always love Magic Kingdom. We did Liberty Tree Tavern for dinner that night.
Megan ordered more pork.
Oh my gosh!
We had already had. By the way, we had more than enough food. I
mean, their first portions come out more than enough food.
Yeah,
but. I'm
I'm
not gonna lie. Out of principle, I always pick one or two other things to order because it's like I'm paying for all this. So I think we ordered more turkey.
Yeah, a little bit more of the pot roast too.
Yeah.
So for those who aren't aware, Liberty Tree is a family style dining. So you basically get this big platter that has like all of the food on it. And so, you eat your fill the first time, and out of principle, you order more of what you liked. And so we ordered that, and then Megan asks the server if she can have more pork, which, hey, she's eating real food. I'm all for it, but it's just like.
And the pork had like a gravy too, and she didn't freak out. Like sometimes when there's like a condiment or something she doesn't recognize, she's like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
But she had no problem with that. I also want to shout out the salad there. I really liked that salad.
Yeah. It's got like dried cranberry in it and
pear
or apple. I wasn't sure which it was.
Some fruit.
Nice dressing.
But so when that came out, I didn't realize it at first. But Megan likes salad, but she does not like dressing on her salad. There's worse. I'm not going to pick that battle. There's worse things in life. So I asked the woman, basically, I was just like, can we just have like a tiny little salad, like with no dressing? She looked at me like I had 5 heads. Because I'm sure most of the time you get the extra dressing or like a different kind of dressing or something like that. But she so they brought out a full-size salad. They're like, I told her a small and she made me a big one.
And these are big salads. They're for sharing. Yeah. So Megan had a gigantic shareable salad to herself. And we're just like, you don't have to eat all of that.
Yeah. No, that was a nice dinner. After dinner, we did a couple other things. I would say that, and we watched the fireworks.
We were late to the fireworks.
We were late to the fire, or later than we would like to be. We couldn't get to we were in front of the castle, but to the side.
Yeah, we were at the hub, but we were kind of behind underneath one of the trees that, surrounds the outside of the hub. Normally, basically a big part of it was there was a little bit of backup on Small World that probably cost us about 10 minutes. And those were valuable 10 minutes, I think.
Yeah, so it was hard, but we could still see everything.
Yeah.
And
it was big
nice.
enough. Yep.
And Megan was so fun. She was belting out, especially how far I'll go in this, top of her lungs, just screaming out, which was so cute to see because she does tend to be more reserved and more calm. But during that, she was just singing at the top of her lungs.
And she was pointing out things that were happening in the projections on the screen. And it's funny to just hear her trying to put thought process to it and everything like that.
Oh yeah, I'm just watching the fireworks. You don't need to explain every detail.
She's narrating
but she is. She's I see this on the castle. I see this. So. It shows she's engaged.
Maybe that's there because, and then what has become our tradition after the fireworks, we went and saw Mickey in his magician's clothes, and that was a 5-minute wait.
Yes.
So
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then we went back. She went to bed. We were back probably at a reasonable hour. We probably had a drink because...
Was that the night that we discovered that we could see the water pageant from our room?
I think
so. Yeah, that was nice.
The next night was rainy. And so that was probably the latest night we were up to was that Magic Kingdom night. Yeah. Because we did stay for fireworks and stuff like that.
So yeah, from where we were, we could see the pageant. And I think, was it the first night that we were in that room? There were... There was the late night hours at Magic Kingdom.
Yes.
So at Wilderness Lodge, they pipe in the music for the fireworks shows. So at 11 o'clock,
you were sleeping.
I was sleeping, but Eileen heard the 11 o'clock fireworks, so she got a special.
It was You Are the Magic, though,
right.
So I got to hear a different one.
Yeah, and we also found that you could see the water pageant that happens out on the lagoon from our room. A little bit obstructed, but it was still nice.
But we could see it and hear it, and so that was nice.
That's another thing that you can hear from. Yeah.
So
then we had the off day where we did a little bit of everything. We went to Chef
Mickey's, had a great time there.
Yeah, we did the buffet, the breakfast buffet at Chef Mickey's. And I know that people have grumbled that Chef Mickey's isn't what it once was. I've never been there before, but we had a terrific time. The characters were great. Our server was very personable, unlike our other breakfast experience. You know, they got to have a dance party with Donald, and of course, other characters were in other areas doing the dance party too. But it was a really, really fun experience.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and yeah, no, I mean that's pretty much all. You pretty much took all of it.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
We went to Springs. We got our Gideon's cookies.
We also hopped on the monorail after that.
That's right. Yep.
And we rode over to the Polynesian.
Yep. We went to the Polynesian lobby and checked that out, the original Polynesian.
And then we went over to the new tower.
Yep.
Which
it's beautiful. It's not themed the same way as the original Polynesian, and that's fine. Like, they have a different vision for that. It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, we didn't see any rooms. Like, we just went and saw the lobby. We walked around the grounds a little bit. It's a very short walk from.
We snuck into the splash pad for a couple minutes.
Yep. So they have Moana on her canoe in the splash pad. So there were some kids who were playing on that, and Megan got a couple minutes to do that. We took some pictures of her with Moana, sailing on the canoe. But yeah, the lobby at the very least is really, really nice. Did you notice that each one of the pillars had a different pattern to it?
I didn't.
Of course, we were watching.
We
Megan
were talking.
too, but
Yeah, I was going to say we were talking. The woman there was kind of explaining the mural to us there,
yes.
And so that was cool.
By the way, there's a hidden Minnie in that mural, which is actually sculpted.
It seems, yeah.
She was explaining a little bit about that, but at the same time, we're also trying to keep track of Megan and everything. But there's a hidden Minnie, which is a rarity in that mural, which is if you're walking in from the
lagoon.
Seven Seas Lagoon side, it's to the right.
Yeah, it's not the typical mural that you would think of, but it was really cool. And yeah, there's a lot. There seemed to be like a history behind it as to how it was done. So
yep, and
that was fun.
People who have been there, I've never been to Hawaii, but people who have been to Hawaii who have seen this resort say it's much more reflective of like a Hawaiian resort. Like that if you did a Hawaiian vacation, it's much similar to that. I thought it was beautiful. Hopefully someday we'll be able to stay there. We haven't stayed in the original Polynesian yet, and that's something that we want to do. But
yeah, then we hopped on a bus to Springs. We got we didn't spend a lot of time there.
No.
And part of that, we would have spent more time there, I think, if the weather was supposed to be good. So remember, we were just like, we can either stay and do a little wandering around, get a drink, or we can go back and swim.
We actually gave Megan the option because one of the things, this was the first time that Megan has really expressed interest in getting mini ears. So we said that was something that we could look for. And we gave her the choice while we were down at Springs that we could either look for some mini ears, which at that point you and I would have gotten a drink, beforehand, or we could go back and swim, and knowing that weather was supposed to come later in the day, so our time at the pool would be short.
And we did explain that to her,
And she chose the pool, so we did the pool at Wilderness Lodge.
And she likes the slide again.
Yes, yeah.
She used to love the slide, and then went down it once.
Just a little bit of a scary experience, and then she kind of didn't want to do it again.
Anti-slide. And today, or this trip, I was just like, you have to try it one time. If you kind of, again, and she just kept doing it over and over again.
It was,
And she can swim, but she was wearing the life vest for a while. And then toward the end, she's like, "Can I take that off?" And
It's like, absolutely.
Yes.
You don't need it in the first place. But
like, yes, we're here. You're safe, but yes.
Yep. And then after our
Then we
rest
went
day.
to Hollywood Studios the next day, right?
Yep.
And that again, we did the lightning lane at every place. But that one, we had lightning lane for all the 3 Toy Story rides.
Yep. And kind of clustered. They weren't right on top of each other, but they were pretty well, they were all positioned kind of like middle of the day, right around lunchtime.
Yeah. So that was cool. And then did we rope drop? Yes, we did rope drop.
We rope dropped Soarin'.
But no, that's a different day.
Oh, that's Epcot. I'm sorry.
So we were on the fence like about Hollywood and Epcot rope dropping. Basically, we were like, if we're up, we'll go do it.
Oh.
If we're not, we won't.
So we rope dropped and we headed to
Rise.
To Rise of the Resistance. And they said Rise of the Resistance is down.
And they wouldn't even form a line.
Right. So we said, all right, let's go hit Smuggler's Run. And then we'll see if we can swing back, if Rise is open or whatever. And Meghan and Eileen got to pilot the Millennium Falcon.
Chris was so jealous. But Meghan wanted to sit with me.
Yeah, and the great thing was there was there are the 3 of us, so there was another party of 3, and it's one of those things like I've heard people be like, if a little kid is flying the thing, it ruins the experience, blah blah blah. These people were great about it. Like they were just having a blast too, and so it was great that we were all able to have fun with it. They got that a kid was up front there, and
she could barely even reach some of the levers. But
right when it was time to go into hyperspace, Eileen had to help her reach the lever and stuff. But it's funny because I told some of my family members, I sent them a text afterwards saying this, and that you guys had gotten to do it and I hadn't gotten to pilot it, and I've really wanted to pilot it. Like I still haven't done it, so I'm it's
only
something.
Our second time going on.
Yeah, I know, but it's been around for so long, and I can say that I still haven't done it. One of either my mom or dad was just like, so is this an indication as to which one of you is going to teach her how to drive? And I said, well, given the fact that I kind of conceded to Eileen that she could do it with Meghan because I had a feeling that I might get a little frustrated myself. Probably that's probably an indication of how that's going to go too. But yeah, and so that was a lot of fun. I was super excited. For her. I think that she got a little like, I was crashing into things. She's like, well,
we crashed into a lot of things.
So of course there were a couple of times that I think you were paying attention to what she was doing, and I kind of was just like, you're supposed to be steering too, because both people in the front have something to do. One of them is supposed to make it go up and down. The other one's supposed to make it go left and right. So there were times where, it seemed like you were focused on what she was doing, and then we were crashing into the sidewall. It was all good. It was all fun. So yeah, we did Rise. Rise was
no, and so then we walked out. Rise was open, and it was like 45-minute wait. And it was just like, it's not going to be shorter. So we got in, and it was again max 45 minutes.
Yeah.
We were moving the whole time.
Yeah, I actually got worried because I ran out of line to use the bathroom over at the Muppets courtyard, and with the way the line was moving, like I ran because I wasn't sure. I wanted to get
back before
the line. You guys got inside, yeah, and that was another one that Meghan hadn't done before. It is a ride that there's some tension there and stuff like that. And you did warn her that the cast members who are in there they're
going to be mean, but they're pretending. Yep. And so we did kind of like, I prepped her for that one.
Yeah. And she did a great job. The only gripe that I have about the ride is you got the turbo lasers working at Disneyland, do Disney World now. Like they're not moving back and forth the way that they used to. It's still a great ride. Kylo Ren was not in B mode this time, so that was great.
Yeah.
But get those turbo lasers working the right way, and then the ride will be perfect again.
Yeah, no, it was fun. And she was, again, she admitted that it was really scary. We actually got off and asked her what was scarier, that or Everest. And she couldn't decide. And, they're very different rides. But she did a good job. And didn't complain at all later when we went back and went on Star Tours.
Yeah.
Like, she had been on that one before and said it was really scary. But I think that, like, she also kind of knew what to expect and didn't complain at all. Got off and was like, that was scary, but no real complaints.
One of these days, I'll be the rebel spy.
I want to be it too, but anyway.
I wonder how they select that. I almost kept my Dale hat on. By the way, for this trip, instead of ears, I got a Dale, like from Chip and Dale, hat. I saw someone with the Chip hat, and I said, if there's a Dale hat, I'm definitely getting it.
He found the Dale
hat.
And
I found the Dale hat. But I almost just wore the Dale hat to see if that was going to like draw whoever's attention it was that selects that.
Because it's a different seat. Because I've been on it enough times to know that it's not like one seat. But yeah, anyway. So again, it was great. She did Slink Dog. I laugh because I look at the pictures like that are taken on these roller coasters and these rides, and she likes Slink Dog. She likes Mine Train. Like, but looking at the pictures, it looks like we're torturing our child.
Yeah.
So we're not. She does like them.
So I'm going to actually go back to Magic Kingdom because the whole picking, like someone in the audience thing reminded me of this.
Oh, the
she
laugh floor?
Loved the laugh
she
floor.
Loved the
she
laugh floor.
was laughing out loud at the laugh floor.
I think she also was taking that very seriously too. That we
have to laugh to fill the canister. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, she genuinely enjoyed, and of course, she's big into telling jokes and stuff like that. So I think that she genuinely enjoyed the laugh floor.
And we haven't done that in a while.
Yeah. So sorry to get off track, but that's something that just came to mind.
Because you thought about picking the spot.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, Hollywood Studios. We met some new we met Sully.
Yep.
We met all those like on that Pixar.
We had met Mrs. Incredible on a race, but Megan had not. We met Edna Mode, Frozone,
Joy. We'd all met Joy before, but like when Megan met her, she was probably 2.
Yeah.
Or I don't know.
I don't know if we had seen Inside Out at the time that we met Joy. Had we?
I had, yeah.
You had? Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that was...
Because what's her... is it Amy Poehler?
Yeah.
Yeah. She was BC. So, like, I always remember, like...
Okay.
That connection to Joy.
Yeah. And of course, we met... The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah, that was really exciting.
Megan has never seen, to my knowledge, 1 second of The Mandalorian. But she has a fascination with Grogu, with Baby Yoda. She actually wanted a magic band that had him on it.
Her lunchbox.
Her lunchbox is Baby Yoda. Now, she's never seen it, but she's got a little Baby Yoda doll and everything. So that was a big thing for her. We also met Ray. We've met Ray before, kind of distanced.
Yeah.
So she actually got to have a conversation with her and everything like that. That was right after we got off Rise, I think.
I think so too.
That was the first, because the first time that we saw the Mandalorian twice. The first time it was like, okay, he's got to go, so she didn't get a picture with him. But then we ran into Ray, and so she. And then later on, we ran into the Mandalorian again, so she was able to get a picture.
Yeah, definitely a cool thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, new characters that day. And we did Woody's, or no, we did Roundup
Rodeo. Yeah.
which was fun. That was a fun atmosphere to go. The food was, it's your average food. It was,
I would put it like, I mean, if you've got a Texas Roadhouse near you, it's basically like that, which is fine.
Different type of food, but
I mean, like, Texas Roadhouse has ribs. There were ribs there, and like it's basically barbecue, like brisket and ribs and chicken and stuff like that, and it was fine. Like the food you're not going there strictly for the food,
but the experience was fun.
Yeah,
Chris we all rode ponies to the table.
That's right. They have like the little wooden ponies that they're just like, if you want to mount up and ride to the table.
Megan was picking one up, did it, and she's like, "Oh, grown-ups can do it too." And it's like, well, okay.
Okay, so we did it, and one of the cool things there is like every so often, like the whole idea is when you hear the soldiers sound the alarm that Andy is coming, everybody's supposed to freeze regardless of what you're doing. So that's a fun little.
And Megan was very nervous about that. Like,
what happens if we move?
and then it worked out great. But then we missed one of the times.
Yes,
because
she had to go to the bathroom.
She was
that
impatient that day.
Yes.
And she was bummed to hear that we missed it, but then was excited when we got to have it one more time. And we were hoping to stay for Fantasmic that day, but it just, we read the room. Yeah. And by read the room, we read the child. And
that's the biggest thing with any trip. And we were talking about this between ourselves. Oh, Comet woke up. Good morning, Comet. Good evening. We're always like, you if you try to push your kid too far and you don't take into account how tired they are, how hungry they are, or whatever, that's going to lead to more upsetness than, and I get it. People are like, especially people who are like, this is our one trip, we want to fit as much in. If you're fitting it in, but everybody's miserable, are you like, is it actually worth it? Yeah.
And for some people it is, and others it's not. So yeah. But yeah, we read the room. It's like, nope, she's done. We went back. She chilled. We had a drink, or she went to bed. We had a drink. And then we did Epcot the next day. And that morning was cold. And by cold, it was like 40. It was like low 40s when we woke up. And with the wind, it felt in the 30s. Yeah. I mean, we all had sweatshirts or jackets, but we wore shorts. So it was one of those things. It's like, and by midday it was like 65. So very comfortable. But yeah, that day we rope dropped Soarin' because
well, it was one of those things we were contemplating.
We had a lightning lane for Frozen.
Yep. We were contemplating whether or not we wanted to make the dash across to do Remy's, and we decided that
we've all done Remy's. If we can't, we'll do it again in the future.
Right. We have the luxury, being DVC, we go regularly, so we can make these decisions a little bit differently than some other people will. So Megan loves Soarin', so we decided that that's the direction we were going to go, and we were going to bang that one out early, and we did, and it was great again, and it's always fun. I do think the one thing, like, they could transition without like the jump scares, without the airplane flying at you or the eagle like swooping in front of you. They could transition those differently, but at least we don't have the crooked Eiffel Tower anymore.
I think we would if we were on the edges.
The crooked Eiffel Tower?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but I mean, it used to be like, it was just like, oh yeah, it's the Eiffel Tower, but it looks like,
I just took that as we were more centered on this ride.
No, they've updated the ride so that it isn't as crooked anymore.
Okay. I just figured
you figure they had to update it anyway because they had to include the new, like, I don't know if you noticed, but it's got the new courtyard at Epcot with the lights and everything like that. So I think they took the opportunity to And that was everything's a little, because it is like this IMAX kind of experience, so it is curved, but they reduced the curve a little bit. So it's not quite as pronounced and makes it feel a little bit more authentic, because most of it does feel very authentic. That the Eiffel Tower, I think, was a little bit more of a challenge for them because of the way that it's shaped and everything. Okay. So
no, I just assumed it was because we were more toward the center of the
No,
garden.
they actually did. I was reading that they did update that.
But yeah, so I mean, Epcot was great. As the day went on, it got very busy. We did rides in the morning.
Yeah,
and then we did KidCot and drinks in the afternoon.
For those who aren't aware what KidCot is, it's basically a scavenger hunt in the countries where you get a different postcard from those countries, and a lot of the people who are at these KidCot stops are, they're from the countries, and so sometimes they'll do something special.
Someone wrote "Happy Birthday, Meghan"
in Japanese. I think it was in Japan. It was like, "Welcome to Japan, Happy Birthday, Meghan," and so now she's got that in Japanese, which is pretty cool. Some of them, I think it was China. The guy was just like, "Oh, this is what I'm doing today. Oh, great, thank you." But there were
most of them are really great.
Most of them are great, and it's a great free souvenir. They used to have it used to be sponsored by Ziploc, and so they used to have this like Ziploc briefcase or suitcase. Basically, it was like a Ziploc bag that had a little handle on it. But I get the feeling that Ziploc is no longer the sponsor. So now they have, and they've also found that they can sell it, because now you can buy a passport and they do special things in the passport, but you can still just get like this little sleeve that you can put them in, and you get a special like extra thing when you do them all.
Yeah. And Meghan really likes doing it. And we're not drink around the world people, but we have our couple spots where we get our drinks. And so we will do the KidCot, like we'll get a drink and we'll do a couple KidCot spots, get another drink, do a couple KidCot spots, and it's a fun thing for everyone. It's a good way to keep the kids engaged in the countries.
Yeah, and it's usually for us. It goes margarita in Mexico, beer in Germany,
and then
either Golden Fox in England, or
something in
Canada.
And sometimes we'll swap it up, but it's all. I would say the two that are always are Mexico and Germany.
Yeah. Yep.
Because sometimes we've done France and then skipped England or whatever. Yep. But yeah, so Epcot was fun again, and we went to dinner at Space 220, which was a lot of fun. Food was very good. I really liked that. We saw the space dog getting walked while we were up there. And then after dinner, we had made a couple more like Lightning Lane reservations. One of them to go do Soarin' again. But we decided we were going to go back and watch the fireworks back at Wilderness Lodge. Yeah. Kind of a nice way to relax at the end of a busy week.
Over at the patio area by Geyser Point, you can see the fireworks from Magic Kingdom. Obviously you can't see the castle, so you're not seeing the projection.
But again, the music's pumped in.
They pipe the music in, so it was a really great way to kind of wind down and end the trip. And of course, like, I was a sobbing mess. And
you were. Megan's like, "Is Daddy crying?"
Daddy was crying. But yeah, the other thing that I was going to say about Epcot, and it was about space, was, and it's not necessarily about Space 220, but just something that came to mind. I had read, like, when we came back, did you know that there's a play area inside, like, the Mission Space building? Like,
no,
there's a kids play area in there, apparently. So that's something to watch out for next time. I mean, Meghan will be 9 the next time. She might be a little big for that. But yeah, that was something I was, that would have been, I mean, not necessarily that we had a
We
lot of
didn't have
extra
time to do anything.
but there are those times when it's just like you're dragging your kid around all over the place, and it's just like if you need a place to like have them blow off some steam,
And it's indoors, so it's probably air conditioned.
right? So
Yeah,
it's a nice option.
we haven't gone on that in a long time.
Right.
So yeah, no, I probably at one point did know it was there because I'm guessing it's like when you come out of the queue. But
Megan also loves the aquarium area outside of Nemo. By the way, she's never done Turtle Talk, which I think she'd really enjoy too.
We hope to do that.
But another thing, I think that when we got off the ride, like a show had just gotten out because it was saying like 20 minutes until the next one or something like that. And I wasn't sure I wanted to hang around for 20 minutes. But I think that's something that she'd really enjoy. But she really enjoys the aquarium area, and they've got the little books. It's like a sticker book. It's again kind of like an engaging scavenger hunt thing, and you're helping Dory find all of these different animals that are in that area. So it's really
it's an interactive way for the kids to see all parts of the aquarium.
Right.
But we usually take a few extras home, and she likes to just find the stickers that match and read through the book. So that's fun too.
Yeah. And that again, anytime that you can get something free out of Disney, take it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So then we had to come home, and
so I know that we asked Megan this, but I'm going to ask you, what was your favorite dining experience?
I don't know. That's a hard one. Because I really liked not all of them, but many of them were different.
I totally understand why Megan had such a hard time with this question too, because they were all, well, I don't think we had a bad experience. I mean, we had a little bit of a lackluster, actual wait service at one place.
But everyone else was excellent. I was very happy with everyone else.
And I almost kind of got that, like with that one, because it was towards the end of the breakfast shift. So, you can kind of understand a little bit.
But I will also say we were the last table at breakfast at Topolino's last year.
That's true, and that was
like, I think I'm going to say Chef Mickey's. I had a lot of fun that day, and maybe it was because we weren't in any kind of a rush. Like, we just kind of relaxed and enjoyed that. I had like this blackberry spritz drink that was tasty. But I think that, and maybe it's because I was going in with like this like negative like connotation.
Yeah.
But I had a really fun time, and Megan was nervous to get up and dance alone, so I got up and danced with her, and it was fun.
Yeah. No, I agree. That one was a lot of fun, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. I mean, the food it's a breakfast buffet. It's not, you're not going to be wowed by anything. But I thought that was good, and I really enjoyed the way that the characters interacted with people.
I thought they were very fun.
And Space is one of my favorite places to. I wish that they switched up the drinks, and I wish that they still had like some of the
the fun Space bubbly drinks.
Yeah, I mean, it's a novelty. It's a cheap trick, but I'm not a cocktail drinker, so having something that's a little bit fun that I can take a picture of or a video of helps. But I did have a good drink. It was basically like a spicy margarita.
Yeah. I just opted for a beer there because I had a couple of beers already, so I was like, I don't want to switch back to sugary and mess.
But so I would agree. I think that we're in agreement that Chef Mickey's was among some really good dining experiences.
And I think I would say Space is right up there too. Those were probably my top two.
Space is a little bit, sorry to
interrupt.
They're
very different, and quality of food, I think, Space was excellent. That was an excellent meal. But so it's kind of one of those, it's hard to compare what we did because we would have to really break it down into this category, this category, this category.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think Chef Mickey's was one where I just sat and had fun while we were there. So on that trip, that was the winner. But I'd go back to, I will go back to all of them probably at some point in time.
I was really excited with this trip in the amount of new experiences that we were able to have. Whether it was the characters we met, there were a couple of, more, new rides that Megan got to experience. And I think that that's something that's really cool for us right now is every time we're going, even if it's the same parks, it's a different experience because Megan's at a different place in life. And so, everything's unique. So,
yeah, I had someone at work ask me, they're like, so did you see anything new or was it all the same because you go so much? I'm like, well, the stuff is the same, but we see new things because we do new things each time.
And the stuff is the same right now. And maybe, because we go so often, but things are changing, they're already working on the stuff at Animal Kingdom. Soon there's going to be something new in even the Tree of Life. That's coming to a close. We did not go see It's Tough to Be a Bug one more time.
I pitched it 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, I know you did. You were pressing hard for it. And if you wanted to have Megan cry, then that would have been your prerogative. But I was not going to endorse that. But there's stuff that's coming down the pike, so it will be different, overall.
Yeah, and I don't mean that in things are all the same. I'm more just what I said to her was because of Megan, things are so different all the time. The stuff that she can do makes it a different trip every time.
Well, and I think the point that I'm trying to get at is that because it's always changing a little bit, we get a little bit of the best of both worlds. And so, we get to see the new experiences for Megan, and then, there are new things that are going to be happening that we can all,
enjoy and experience together.
Yeah. It wasn't that long ago when I was super excited because there was a wall that had a picture of Galaxy's Edge on it. I took a selfie in front of a wall.
When you say it wasn't that long ago, it was probably close to 10 years ago.
It's not all that long ago. In the scheme of things.
Yeah, and maybe not that long.
It wasn't that long ago. But
6 to 8 years ago.
Yeah. And you look at, we did Muppets 3D one last time because that's going to change. And so, there's a little bit of both, so for us, there's going to be new experiences to be had, in addition to what we're experiencing with Megan that's different in every trip. So, and I think that's part of, obviously the experiences with Megan are what make it really special. But I think the fact that the park isn't frozen in time, that these parks are always changing, does have some positive elements to it from the standpoint of we are able to create some new memories and experiences for ourselves as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, obviously, some things people are more excited about than others.
And
honestly,
if we have to wait and see.
If we had the time again, we didn't even get on Haunted Mansion this time.
I know, I really wanted to.
There were so many things that, we didn't even make it down Sunset Boulevard
no, we didn't.
in Hollywood Studios. I was hoping, and we weren't going to be able to. I know you didn't want to do rider swap for Rock and Roller Coaster, but I was hoping to do that one more time. And we didn't even get down there, not even for a picture, you know, just for all the time that we had with a longer trip, I found that we were and that's the thing about Disney too, is you can go to a park that has the same stuff and head in a completely different direction each time.
Yeah.
too.
And I would say we got all of our priority things done.
Yeah.
But not all of the secondary things. Yeah. And guess we have to go back.
All right.
Really?
Well, we are running very long here.
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody who has hung with us through this entire thing. And believe it or not, there's a lot more that we did not talk about.
Oh my goodness. Yes. No, Anyway, we made it back safely. The car was only a little bit icy.
The car was not icy at all. It was more digging it out of the ice.
I knew that Mary Kate's car was icy.
Yeah. By the time we got back to our car, because basically it snowed and then it rained and then it got cold and everything froze. The difficult part was there was like this mound of snow and ice around the car.
I tried to do a quick wrap up by saying we made it back, and you're going into detail about the weather.
But trying to help people understand this. There are people from Florida who listen. There are people from Texas who listen. By the way, apparently it was very cold in Texas.
Yeah, that's what some lady told us.
Well, when we were down there,
that's what I was going to say. There was a woman talking about that. And by some lady, someone we were in line near.
Right. Or was that the person we were on the boat with? No,
it was
different person.
It was Texas. A lady who also had a daughter. We were in Soaring with those people.
Right.
And they had a daughter who had a birthday around then, and they were from Texas.
Yeah. So anyway, we are wrapping this up now. Thanks for listening. And any last minute things that you want to mention? Anything that pops in your head as we are about to hit the stop recording button?
Nope. I'm just not sure I want to wait 2 more years to go back. But we're going to leave it at that.
Maybe, and if we do wait 2 more years, maybe we also tie in a Run Disney thing because I was super jealous at the medals.
Anyway, that could be a whole nother story. So let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Thank you and good night.
And of course, a lot of the great experiences that we had on this trip were made possible thanks to We Do Travel Right. We used We Do Travel Right to get our park tickets, to do our dining reservations, and really they helped us out with just some of the ins and outs of this vacation. We consider ourselves pretty knowledgeable when it comes to Disney, but Emily and her team with that concierge level service just have this higher level of expertise that just brings trips to the next level. So if you're interested in taking a Disney vacation, or if you're looking at Universal or all-inclusive or a cruise, check out We Do Travel Right for their services, which, by the way, are free. Yeah, you don't pay anything else for using We Do Travel Right because those companies that I just mentioned already build the use of an agent into their pricing. So you're not paying anything extra when you use the agent. So doesn't it just make sense to use something that's essentially free, but as I've said and others will attest to as well, has such great value? And to me, especially with a vacation, my time is valuable. So if I can cut down on that time where I'm trying to figure out all this stuff because it's been taken care of for me, heck, that's great. And I'm going to take that every time. So if you are ready for your next magical vacation, you can get your free, obligation-free quote by going to wedotravelright.com/Maza. That's wedotravelright.com/MAZA. And they'll get you that quote, and you'll get that one-on-one service with an agent that makes the entire experience so great. And don't forget to tell them that Chris and Eileen sent you.
Now I can't do any more damage around this popsicle stand.
So long, partner. See you real soon.
that this episode is winding down, and this was a longer episode, so thank you to everybody who stuck with the whole thing. Like I said, we only got through certain parts of this trip that we were able to fit so much in, and yet there was still so much, like we said, that we didn't get to on this trip. And I think that's the great thing about a Walt Disney World vacation, is every time you go, you can find something different to do. And of course, Emily's talked about this. Emily from We Do Travel Right has talked about this, that this is kind of their goal. You know, they want to make it so you want to come back. And certainly for me and my family, man, we just keep on coming back. Now, of course, we don't have another trip planned until Megan will be 9, if you can believe that. But we are going to be next year, in less than a year, we will be getting on a cruise. We will be checking out the Disney Destiny. So that will be a next great adventure for us. If you are looking for some even greater adventures, well, that I'm not going to go that far. I won't say that this podcast is an adventure greater than Disney, for sure. But if you're looking for your own different adventures, you can go to mazasmusings.wordpress.com, where you can find past episodes, including all of our Disney episodes, or some of our other content. We've got a lot of Star Wars content. We do some sports. I'd really like to get some more sports talk going on, and that's hopefully something that I'm going to have coming up soon. Also, Aaron Bracey, speaking of sports, who wrote a book on the 2003-2004 St. Joseph's Hawks basketball team that had the undefeated regular season and really went toe-to-toe with some of the marquee programs in college basketball. His book is getting released this week, basically. And so if you're interested in reading a really great basketball book, I'd suggest taking a look at that. And if you want to know a little bit more about that, you can just go to our website and find that past episode. Of course, while you're on the website, there's a lot of other stuff. There's information on the podcast. You can find out how you can connect with us on social media. As far as social media goes, we are on Twitter, which is X, and Threads, and Instagram at Mazas Musings Pod. We're on Facebook. You can just search for the Mazas Musings Podcast. We are on Blue Sky, and we are also fooling around with TikTok once in a while, and TikTok is Mazas Musings Podcast. Along with that, you can also subscribe to our newsletter, where you'll get information on past episodes, upcoming episodes. I'll shout out other podcasts. If there are contests or sweepstakes, I'll let you know about those. Also, any kind of like little interesting news items, I'll also throw in there as well. So it's just a fun thing that comes into your email once a week. I don't try to badger people too much, but it has some fun information both about this podcast and about other things that are going on. I really want to thank everybody who has been listening and who has been interacting with us on social media and who has been visiting the website or listening to our podcast. The best way to help more people find it, of course, is word of mouth. But beyond that, if you go to your favorite podcatcher and give us a rating or review, whether it's a thumbs up or a 5-star or, whatever your podcatcher does, that helps move us up in those lists that help it make it easier for other people to find this podcast. You can also, if you're looking to do a little bit something extra, you can buy us a blue milk. I actually had a delicious blue milk while I was at Galaxy's Edge. It was my first time, actually, quite tasty. So if you are interested in buying us a blue milk, there is also a link to that on our website. And it's just a small, obligation-free way to help us with some of the small costs that go into putting together this podcast. But of course, any manner of support is terrific. Whether you're interacting on social media, subscribing to the newsletter, listening to the podcast and telling your friends, whatever. It is all good and we appreciate it all. So, like I said at the beginning of this episode, we've got some exciting things coming up. Hopefully, I'll be able to let you know about those in the next newsletter. So, keep your eyes open for that. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a great weekend and a great week.